All right, cool. Hey, friends on Zoom, can you hear us okay? Stephanie, yes. Just give me like a thumbs up. We good? All right, brilliant. All right, Ryan, the floor is yours.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Deluca, and I want to thank everybody for joining me. We are in part 3 of Map to Cap. Today, we're going to be focusing on what works in your business. So a little background introduction on myself. I've been a full-time agent for 3 years, and the first 2.5 years I was on a real estate team, which helped me build a good foundation and good habits that conditioned me to be a productive agent. I went solo recently. I've been independent for about 6 months now. So year to date, I'm at 25 units sold, which is just over 4 million in volume. And I have 6 deals currently pending over 1.5 million. So in time, I'm planning on finishing the year pretty strong. When I was asked to do this class, it really helped me reflect on what works in my business. And that's the whole purpose of this class. So my goal is this is about you. I want to help you guys identify what works in your business. What are some new strategies that you can find that'll help you get to the next level? So reflecting back on my business, I'm pretty organically grown, and I realized that a lot of my business came from expired listings. A lot of my business came from open houses, and a lot of my business came from sphere of influence. So I want to ask you guys for a little participation. What are some things that you guys are also currently doing that works in your business to lead generate?
I'm big on for sale by owners. That's who I was calling. Well, half and half expired today for sale by owners. Some circle prospecting is helped also.
Okay, so we got some for sale by owners, circle prospecting, which that means literally put a circle around the area that you want to call into. So you got expired listings, open houses, for sale by owners, sphere of influence, circle prospecting. There's a lot of different things that you can get into. And I also want to ask you guys, so those are things we can do to prospect and get business. I want to also ask you guys, what stops you guys from prospecting? Is there anything that prevents you guys from doing that?
Fear.
Awesome. Fear, number 1.
Awkward.
Awkward.
What stops you from prospecting?
What stops you from prospecting? It's yeah, I mean, some of the same things, fear, not knowing what to say. But again, all these things I'm hearing, that's common, not knowing what to say, but everything can be overcome with skill practice and scripting. And that's something that we're going to talk about too. So when you get licensed, not everybody's idea of an agent is the same. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to get licensed, I'm going to start selling a bunch of homes. And the reality is you have to earn your business. And you get your license and you earn the right to sell. You also just have to earn your business. And we're in the lead generation prospecting business. And something that I took away early on in the business, Gary Keller said this, all you have to do is simply talk to 20 people a day about real estate. I mean, if you break it down, it's that simple. So before we jump into finding what works and what we're going to focus on, I found a blueprint for all prospecting. I learned this from Jeff Glover. For those of you who don't know Jeff Glover, he is a top high-producing agent in Detroit, Michigan. He produces a lot of content that I follow. But one of the things I have implemented is this blueprint for prospecting, because at the end of the day, there's no secret formula on what works. But if you do follow these keys, they will keep you on track. And I'm going to start going over them with you and break down what I do specifically. So number 1 is write down your goal. You guys got to figure out your volume. What volume do you want? How many number of units do you want? How many people do you have to talk to on a day-to-day basis? And this is important because once you identify what that looks like and you identify what your goal looks like, you can build a plan around that. And simply enough, that's what I do. I actually write my goal down every morning. My goal for 2021 was 7 million in volume, which was 38 units, which is 10 conversations a day. And when you write it down, you're putting it into the universe. You have something to focus on every time you come into the office or when you do start lead generating. So writing down your goal is very important and getting clarity on that. November 8th, Mike Rapaski is holding a business planning clinic. I went to that last year and there's a lot of value to be added to that. And it really helped me break down and identify my goals to get clarity on that. So I'd recommend you guys do go to that and take advantage of that. Mike may or may not have paid me to say that. Cool. So number 1, writing down your goal. Number 2, know your why. Circling back around to the first math cap, exactly know your why. This is very important because you want to attach your why to your goal that you just wrote down. This is what's giving you guys purpose. And you guys really want to put meaning behind what you're doing, because that's going to fuel you guys whenever you come in. Whenever you don't feel like doing it, you want to circle back around to your why. It's gonna get you going. And for example, my why is basically my family. I have 2 baby nieces, and just living the life I want on my terms and being financially unconcerned. And what my why is, everything I earn from real estate sales, I'm using it to buy assets and income producing real estate, which is passive income, to allow me to live the life I want, to purchase things I want, to help my family when they need it. So that's what gets me going. So I know you guys had that conversation with Mike Arco's class when he did Finding Your Why. So that's number 2. Number 3, creating a strong mindset. Extremely important. What's your current mindset? Think about that right now. What's your mindset around prospecting? It's abundance versus scarcity. Eric Akbar says this all the time, opportunity versus obligation. You really want to focus on the opportunity. There's more than enough to go around. That's the truth. And not everybody feels like prospecting, and that is part of the process. And some things that I do to get my mindset straight is a lot of virtual mentors. We have access to so much amazing content and amazing mentors out there. You have podcasts, YouTube. I'll just throw in some videos, and that helps me get in the right mindset. Number 4, this one sticks out to me. Commit to being consistent. This one is huge because, again, focusing on what works, lead generation. If you guys are not consistent, you're not going to see results. You can't just call for sale by owners Monday and Wednesday and expect to start seeing results. You have to be consistent. And I think having a daily structured schedule is what's really going to help you guys. So that's what helps me. And I like the term own the morning, win the day. There's so much truth to that. And I think just guarding your morning is what's going to help you guys. I come in, Eric Akbar started Power Hour. Every morning we come in 9 to 11 a.m. We would prospect, whether that's calling expired listings, calling for sale by owners, texting your sphere, sending out mailers to your family and friends. No matter what you're doing to prospect, we're there every day, 9 to 11. So we guard that morning. I also follow up with that by an hour of follow-up, which we're going to get back to later in the session. But 11 and 12, I'll do an hour of follow-up, which is connecting with everybody who I had contact with, who is a lead, who's motivated to buy or sell. And then once your morning's done, your prospecting's out of the way, you set appointments for the afternoons. You can go on your showings or you can go on your listing appointments. If you don't have showings or listing appointments, guess what? You can start lead generating again if you wanted to do so. Number 5 is discipline. Discipline is what's going to separate you from the rest. Discipline is doing what you have to do when you don't want to do it. And I'm one of them. I don't just wake up excited to jump on the phone and start making dials, and it's not always there. So what helps me is, again, just staying consistent and showing up every day. Other agents are in the office making calls with me. That does help. So that is an invitation. If you guys are in the area, if you wanted to come in the office, it definitely helps. Last but not least, number 6 is accountability. I think this is very, very important. You need to find an accountability partner, and you can even utilize Facebook agents, go online. Like, that's a huge resource for us. I'm sure somebody would be willing to be there to help you out with that. And script practicing, we'll get into that, but I script practice and role play every morning. At 8:30 a.m. I have a script partner, and I have 2 during the week. So it keeps me on track. We script, we go through objections. It gets me prepped up for my calls. And it also, we hold each other accountable. Who are you calling today? How many calls do you intend on making? How many appointments are you going to set? So again, just right off the bat, we have an idea on what we're going to focus on. Another thing for accountability, I did hire Eric Huckbar as my productivity coach, and he's basically like rocket fuel to my business and my life. He helps identify shortcomings and helps me build plans and gives me tactical advice on how to tackle any issues or building up my database, my pipeline. So that's something you can consider too, and that really helps. So those are the top 6 things that I follow that really help me lead generate. And if you guys apply those to whatever you're doing, whether that's open houses, Sphere, expireds, for sale by owners, you're definitely going to start seeing results from that. So, all right. You guys told me calling for sale by owners, expired, you guys have an idea on all the lead generation. So I'm going to dive into a little bit about what works for me, and I'll give you some tips and tricks on my processes and how that works. The first one was expired listings. Does everybody understand what an expired listing is? So for those of you who don't know, an expired is basically a seller who had their house under contract, and for whatever reason it didn't sell. And I like calling expires because there's a lot of motivation there. Their home did not sell. They're frustrated. They need a solution. So that's my biggest source of business. When I started on the real estate team, I actually started with a script in my hand and started making expired calls. And I'll go into more detail. The scripts are on gloveru.com. He has amazing scripts for every scenario, and they're very simple, and they're question oriented, which gets the seller to think on the other end. But I like to call it now business, because if you're struggling to get a listing, these people are motivated. There's no higher motivation than an expired, more so a for sale by owner on Zillow. We'll talk about that too, but they're ready to go. To help you guys out, where do you guys get expireds from? I'll have to double check with Danielle. I believe Danielle or Sierra at the front desk can get you guys set up on expired mailing list, and she can get those sent over to you daily with all the phone numbers. What I personally do, I purchase the data. Actually, it's pretty cheap. It's $50 a month. I buy it through Mojo. There's a lot of different platforms where you can find that data. So I pay $50 a month. I'll get that expired data, and then I can call through everything. If you guys want to call on a high level, I would highly recommend getting a dialer, and Mojo does the dialer too. So I'll pay for the data and get the dialer. That's $100 a month. So all that data goes into the dialer, and I can literally speed through all these expired phone calls. And efficient way of doing it. All right, so expireds again. The clients are motivated. They really want to sell, but they didn't. And that's my job when I'm calling. I'll get them on the phone and what's going on with the listing. If you actually look at it, was the house overpriced? Was it not staged properly? Bad pictures. We've all seen bad photos, right? They're blurry. There's pictures of people's thumbs in the corner. It's like your job is to identify that problem and be the solution for the seller.
The mirror pictures are the best.
I like animals.
Animals?
Yeah.
I like the mirror pictures where you see the agent in the mirror.
Selfie.
You get the agent selfie in the bathroom. You got animals running around.
That's
So
not made.
beds are cluttered. Exactly right. So sometimes you're that solution, and they're looking for a great agent. So you get them on the phone, discover their motivation, offer value, and just ask questions. Like, what do you think stopped your home from selling? What did the agent say as to why the home didn't sell? And then you offer your value proposition. You have you price it properly, you know, you do all your research beforehand, you virtually stage the property, you have a professional photographer that works for you. There's a whole bunch of things that you can plug value in, and you want to be their solution. So with that list, you can call them, what I do, you can text them, you can mail them, you can door knock them. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can go about that. And somebody in here said the fear of calling or the fear of objection is what prevents them from making the calls. And you basically got to expect the no's. And the no's do happen consistently, but I'm only looking for a few to say yes. And that's all I'm looking for. And sometimes I will call for a week straight. I get absolutely nothing. It's like, what am I doing? But then the next week I'll set 3 appointments in a row. Sometimes I'll just get really good contacts. They're going to wait. They're going to put things on hold. And that's why it's important to put these people in a database, take very good notes, and then you can follow up with them. So I will be going into more detail on the follow-up a little bit later. Again, there's a script on Glover U. I went over that. There's also old expireds. Like we're talking expireds that expired in 2017, 18, 19. You can actually circle back around, and those are very simple phone calls. You can purchase that data too. And there's no easier way just to call them and say, hey, did you realize, are you aware of the changes that we're experiencing in the real estate market? No, what are you talking about? Well, your house is probably worth 10% more than it was the following year. Like, are you kidding? No way. It's like, well, great. If the home is sold, where were you moving to? So you can start uncovering that. And I've secured a lot of listings this year from old expireds, and I'll show some examples of that. But again, the Glover U, that's where you're going to get the scripts from. Like that's a huge value add. Getting a role play and a script partner. Again, I do script every morning, and we just go through objections. Because the reality is you're going to get objections over and over again, but you can start getting better and better. And the objections aren't going to change. They're all going to be the same thing in one way or another. You can also YouTube some different role play videos. Jeff Glover does that. There's another guy like with Keller Williams out of state, Derek Lipsky. When I first started, I was watching him. It's like just a sales approach and just how to get better at that. So a lot of people may not like to call expireds because let's face it, not all of them expired today, especially in this market, are just not attractive listings. You're like, if it didn't sell in this market, you're like, something's wrong with the property. I want nothing to do with it. So here's a story that I recently had of turning a not sexy listing into a great opportunity. I was calling on the dialer. A triplex expired in May. I called, the owner picked up. Oh no, we're not interested. Hung up. I confirmed the number. I confirmed the name. I called them back in 1 month. 30 days. I called them. Hey, just following up. I saw it expired. What's going on with it? Oh yeah, the agent couldn't get it sold. We're not going to sell it. She hung up on me again. The third month, again, third call, said, what's going on? Just wanted to follow up. You guys still have motivation. The market's pretty good. It looks like there were some missed opportunities, which I did identify that the pictures were bad. It showed nothing about the rentals, and it was a triplex. So I knew there was a lot. The value was in the income that the property was producing. So there was missed opportunities. She told me she wanted to move to Florida, but there was a change of plan. She couldn't find the house. Long story short, she called me the next month. So after 4 phone calls, she called me and she said, hey, I found a house in Florida. Will you come over and sell my house? So awesome. So I go over there. Again, I'm not excited. 120-year-old triplex, you're in Cleveland. So I meet this lady, didn't really interview with her at all. I met her at the house, got the photographer set up that same day. So I met her the same day in person. My photographer goes in and he comes out and he just like, man, this is going to be a tough sell. And he like shook his head at me like, oh my gosh. So got the photos, we sat down, I sat down with the sellers. They were old school. So I literally went through every single word in line inside of the contract. So I got 5 hours later with them that one day and 4 follow-up calls. So I get the listing prepped up, awesome photos, amazing content. I got all the rents, I got all the rent rolls and all the lease agreements. So I had everything ready to go. I'm just like, man, this is gonna be a tough sell at 240. 12 hours later, I get a phone call. It was some out-of-state investor from California. He's like, Ryan, tell me about this triplex. Great, I gave him all the details. But like, we want to write an offer. We're not represented. Will you represent us? Absolutely, I'll represent you guys. So within 24 hours, I doubled down the deal, got it locked down. And for those of you who don't know, doubling down the deal, there's no buy side. I'm representing both sides, getting the full commission on that, which is amazing. So got that deal going, but who would have thought that that would have come from an expired, like something nobody wanted to touch, but the opportunities are there. And it does get better because she's like, wow, Ryan, you're a hero. You got my house under contract, 24 hours. She sent me an address. And I'm like, okay, what's this you want? You want to buy this? You interested? She's like, oh no, that's my next property. I want you to sell that one. This one's ours. I can do that. Great. So she's got another duplex that I'm going to sell. And then out of state buyers, because I'm representing them, she's like, they're like, you are so amazing to work with. You're so easy. You're so organized. She's like, we want to buy a couple more. Would you be willing to help us out? Absolutely. So, you know, like everyone, a lot of people, and that's what happened in this market. Like there are opportunities. You just have to go after them. Again, I didn't think that was going to happen, but pretty amazing what can actually come out of calling expireds. For sale by owners. Who calls a lot of for sale by owners?
I do for showings.
You do for showings? There you go, for the showing side.
It's a good way to get your foot in the door.
It's a great way.
If you
Wrap them
kind of
up.
have a buyer for it, it's
Yeah.
a great way to build rapport.
Yeah.
Break the ice.
Then when my buyer wants it, it makes it so much easier.
Exactly.
That is a good way to get in the door.
Usually you get a higher commission. If you do represent a buyer, you get a higher commission.
Oh, yeah.
for sale by owner, so-
You get a flat 3 because they don't
Yeah.
know. That's
You
my
just write
favorite.
that in, that's
3%.
I've gotten as high as 4. Yeah, with the for sale by owner. Seriously, like you just say, you don't have to pay the full 7%. You only have to pay 4.
Yeah.
If you let me I'll handle the entire thing, and they're
Okay.
all right.
And that's good. And I don't call a ton of for sale by owners. I do every once in a while. I'm not heavy on them like I am with expired listings. For sale by owners are very simple though. They're on Zillow. You can literally find all the owners' contact information and call them up. It's a free lead. It's right there, and they're at the highest motivation. It's up for sale. They want to sell, and you know, they just haven't talked to an agent yet, or they feel they can do it themselves. And the truth is, you can watch them, and after a couple weeks, sure enough, every single for sale by owner is going to be listed with an agent. And you're like, what? You're like, I should have just called, because it's that simple. And just calling them, it's really just uncovering or plugging in some value and just showing them that you can get the job done. The truth is they just have a lack of exposure. They need the MLS exposure. They need good content, and that's what we can provide, and they don't think we can do that. But a lot of them say they just sell for sale by owner because they're going to save a lot of money. And the truth is we can actually secure them more money, having professional representation and working harder, negotiating for them versus somebody just coming in and just offering something low and they're going to take it when we could have saved them a lot more. So our goal is to educate them and just show them that we can net them more even after our commission's paid. It doesn't matter what they're paying us. What matters is what they net at the end of the transaction. So again, Glover you could sign up on his website and they'll give you the whole packet with all the scripts. Again, it's as simple as that. We can follow those scripts. There's actually bold scripts too for the bold program. You can actually Google them. I found the bold scripts online, or you can probably get a copy from an agent in here. But there's a lot of different objection handlers in the bold scripts. Jeff Glover just gets straight to the point with question, and it gets them to think differently. Like, how much time would you take before you consider talking to an agent? How did you arrive at the decision to sell yourself rather than list with an agent? And it just gets them to think differently. But we can put more money in their pocket. And again, along with expireds and for sale by owners, the ticket is follow-up. It's always going to be follow-up that's going to win. You want to be top of mind. And if there's another agent that's calling right behind them, you need to outperform them. And a shout out to Mike Arco, who we call every morning. He set up for sale by owner appointment for a house that was $830,000.
75.
I'm sorry, $875,000. I was right next to him when he was on the phone, got the appointment. So it's the opportunities there. And again, let's go back to my 6 principles, that mindset. opportunity, obligation, scarcity, abundance, like it's there and the scripts are there. And if you practice and just commit to it, it can happen. And that's pretty cool. All right. I'll jump into open houses a little bit. How many people do open houses? Got 1, 2, 3. No,
No,
no.
no,
So,
no.
so half and half. Some people are all about them. Some don't enjoy them. Open houses are not my personal favorite. However, reflecting back on my business, they do work. And I started off as a buyer's agent, like I said, when I was on a team. So for all our listings, I would host open houses, gathered a lot of content or all the sellers' contact information. And again, you have to put the fake name, fake number first, so you can get everyone else to sign in. But doing so, people who do show up do have motivation. And what I learned is a lot of them are, it's going to be a double deal. Most of the time they do have somewhere to sell and they do want to buy. So you typically get 2 transactions out of that deal. But I just, you just got to give them a shot and again, be consistent with them. I mean, just put yourself out there, show up, be prepared. And your whole goal is just to build rapport. Build rapport and ask questions. You want them to like you, know you, trust you. And it's like, it's hard to do that, but as long as you're capturing that information and again, doing the follow-up, it's going to start helping you. And another thing that I've learned too, you can be a local professional with open houses. If you choose a specific area to focus on and just continuously do open houses in that area, you're going to look like the local professional. And I started doing that. I live in Lyndhurst. I was doing open houses in Lyndhurst, Mayfield consistently. And sure enough, I started seeing the same buyers at some of those open houses. And they identified me, wow, you're everywhere. You're working very hard. You're working on the weekends. And it's like an easier way to get in. Open houses, a story I have with open houses. I wasn't good with my follow-up when I first started. And 5 months after an open house I did, I was going through some of my notes and my sign-in sheets. I'm like, wow, I have not contacted these guys in so long. So I started going through all my calls. And again, this story is to reflect how important it is to follow up and stay on top of everybody. I got a hold of one of them. I'm like, hey, Brian, this is Ryan. I met you at the open house of Novelty. It's been like 5 months. Thought I'd check in. How's your home search coming along? Did you guys find anything? He said, man, we didn't. Like, we're still looking. We have no idea where we want to be. This is crazy. My wife wants here. I want there. Like, well, great. I'm a buyer specialist. It sounds like you guys need help. I'd love to sit down with you guys. Let's come up with a game plan. They were all about it. Sat down, had a buyer consultation with them, and built really good rapport. And it's funny because 1.5 years later is when I finally sold them a house. So yeah, my longest client ever. It was crazy. However, after working with them, they were so happy with my commitment. They went through a couple agents already. The agents were sick of showing them and driving around and everything. But I showed up. He was happy. He was basically a raving fan of mine. He's like, Ryan, you did so good. He said, I have a friend that needs to sell his condo. He wants to buy another one. I went to the friend's house. Didn't even have to, I was all prepared to interview, get the job done. And no, he's just like, where do I sign? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I trust you. It's like, Brian trusts you. I trust you. He's saying, there's just nothing more amazing than that. So from an open house contact, putting in the hard work, the effort, got his condo sold. And then a couple months later, we found him a house. So from one open house contact, that was two extra transactions on that. Did a good job for him. He referred me to his grandma. His grandma needs to sell. Of course I can help grandma out. So I got 4 total transactions just by them. I have a good relationship with them. So once you start doing these, again, my point is it just takes one person and one piece of business. If you do a good job, you do the right thing. Again, go back to the core beliefs. It's literally that simple. Win-win or no deal. Do the right thing. Customers come first. If you literally just read off of that and make it part of you, you're going to start winning people over, and that's what you want. And another story too, open house. I met another contact, follow up, follow up, follow up. He's like, wow, you're so persistent. I don't want anything. He calls me out of the blue about a year later. Ryan, I want this piece of land. Awesome. I'll check it out. I'll check out the land. It was a $15,000 piece of property. He's like, I want to put a cash deal on contingent upon, zoning, this and that. So went through the whole zoning process, everything, got him this $15,000 piece of land. He's like, Ryan, you did so good and committed to me and put so much time over this little piece of land. I know you're not going to get paid much on this, but I want to award you with listing my house when it's ready. Give me a couple months. He's like, here's the address. A couple months later, I have a $600,000 listing in Brecksville. I didn't even interview for it. He trusted me right off the bat. And again, that was all of my follow-up. And that was a demonstration of my work ethic. And I was newer. I wanted to get every piece of business I had. So that was important to go follow through with that land. But who would have thought the opportunities that come out of that? So again, being consistent with open houses, who you're going to meet, you never know the opportunities, expires the opportunities there. But again, it's the consistency that's going to start getting the results. How we doing in here? All right. And last but not least, the sphere of influence. That was the next biggest source of business for finding what works in my business. How many of you enjoy calling your family and friends and asking for business?
I think we enjoy the first part of that question, and the second part that's a little questionable.
Right. We enjoy talking to them. The second part, asking for business. Right.
Feel a little sleazy there.
Right. Feeling sleazy, not comfortable, like you're asking them for something. So I'm that guy too. I'm that agent that does not enjoy calling my sphere. And it's just, I think in the beginning, it was just a lack of experience that I had, maybe a lack of confidence, not having enough deals under my belt. Maybe I felt I didn't have the credibility. So I just never called my family and friends. But as time goes on, 3 years into the business, they're naturally gonna know what you do. But the truth is, my first couple deals, even that I'm looking back on, is from previous coworkers or some friends. So they do know you, they do trust you. So you just got to find a way to plug in some value and just let them know what you do. But because I don't like calling them or asking them for business, what helps me is I started doing friend events. So basically, it's just a fun way to just get around your friends, get everyone together. And naturally they figure out what you do because it always comes up in one way or another. So for example, friend event this past year, this summer is when I started doing them. I texted a group of friends. I got about 8 people put together and we went rafting at Mohican campgrounds, basically cabrewing. We're all in the sun. There's 10 of us in a raft. We're floating down a 7-mile river run, drinking beer in the sun, music's blasting. It's fun. But there was a couple friends that were invited that I didn't know. Naturally, oh, how's the market? Great, yeah, we're in a seller's market. What are you looking to do? Buy, sell side? And my friend's girlfriend, who I wasn't close with, yeah, my mom, they have such a big house in Silver Lakes. They want to get rid of it. Do you have any recommendations for me? And so it's just funny how it naturally does come up and it does work. But it was a fun way just to get out. You're getting everyone together, and then they slowly are starting just to know what you do, or it does come up. I did another one. I mean, you guys can get creative with this. I did another one, poker nights, Texas Hold'em tournament style we did. I texted a friend from high school who has a bunch of mutual friends that I'm not super close with, made a couple calls, but everyone got so pumped about it. Within an hour, we got a Facebook event posted, 10 people are invited. Someone hosted it. Someone catered Italian food for it. We had chicken parm, pasta, spaghetti. Someone brought cigars. So like this one little idea created a 10-person poker style event. And it turned out to be a great time. And one of the mutual friends, yeah, my house is getting too small. My little kids running around. We have a split level. I want to build. I want land. He's like, you're in real estate. Can you help me? Yes, I can. So it's fun, like doing stuff like that. And I learned it really helps Again, just a natural way of doing it, and it just comes up in a natural way. And then I have a Hollow Weekends plan too for Cedar Point. So that's coming up in a couple weeks. So again, you guys can do whatever you want to do, and it's something so small. Go-karting, even if you do like a taco night, again, something small just to get friends together, and you'll start seeing results. And take advantage of all social outings and all gatherings, because it's just, you know, talk again, circling back to Gary Keller, all you have to do is talk to 20 people a day about real estate. As long as you're doing that and finding a way to incorporate it in your conversations, you're going to get some sort of lead. But again, all those leads I got from my all my events, I'm putting them in a pipeline, which we'll talk about, because if you're getting all these leads and not doing anything with them, you're not gonna see anything from it, or they'll go to somebody else. All right. So those were my top 3. Again, you guys can focus on door knocking. You guys can do geographic farming. You guys can do circle prospecting. You guys can send out mailers. You guys can, it's free marketing just going on Facebook. There are so many agents I see that are just phenomenal at just making social media posts, and just the presence naturally brings business. So there's a lot of different things you can do. But follow-up is the next big thing. The biggest, if there's anything you guys take away today, it's the follow-up. And I'm going to quote Eric Akbar. He always says the magic is in the follow-up. And it's true time and time again. There's another top agent that I like. His name's Cody Gibson. He always says the fortune is in the follow-up. And a quote that I like, lead generation will get you a sale. Lead follow-up will get you a business. And it took me a while to understand that. In this past year, and reflecting on all my deals, half of everything that I gotten this year was from follow-up. Follow-up is where all the appointments are set. I did say sometimes you can get a hole-in-one. Sometimes an expired or for sale by owner will have you over that day. Sometimes you can get a hole-in-one. But studies do tell us that about 8 to 10 contacts are made before even setting the appointment or even converting them. So again, it's just being top of mind. Sometimes they're not ready. That's why like I'm good on every 30 days, or you know, where you at? And you can only ask so much. Where are you going? What's their motivation? Plug in your value, and then you follow up. And eventually, the more you do it, eventually they're going to convert. Everybody pretty much has a good idea of what follow-up means. It's basically you're contacting everybody that has expressed interest in buying and selling. And you just have to find a very good way of tracking them. And I'm going to show you the system that I use. But basically, you have the lead and you want to put them in a pipeline. And some people utilize command. You can put their contact in command. You can start making notes. You can get their phone number. You can get their email. You can put them on a smart plan. So let command do the work and do a touch every month. You can do an Excel spreadsheet. That's where I started when I got in the business. It's not ideal anymore, the bigger it gets, but you want to start tracking everybody and find an organized way to get that done. But where my biggest wins are, I just get amazing results by following up. And what I do is I take great notes and I get their motivation. And every time I call that same lead, like people are mad that expired, that just expired. Like you get a lot of expires on the first of the month. Usually the first and the last of the month are when you're going to get a lot. And when that does happen, you have a lot of other agents calling. I was making calls this morning. I got screamed at, take my name off your list, hung up. It's because they're getting a ton of calls. But I know the number's confirmed, and I will call back. Hey, your home expired. I was just checking in. What are your plans? But once I uncover that motivation, I make connection points with them. And I'm going to show you some examples, but you bring up those points every time you make the calls and you refresh the conversation because you just want to make sure that they remember you. And then when the time comes, you go for the close, you want to get the appointment and you want to get face-to-face. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing for my follow-up and how I track everything. Zoom should be able to see what's going on. So. Oh my gosh, come on.
Miracles of technology.
Yeah, like, come on, I just had it up. Wow, that's great.
We'll blame it on Murphy.
Hold on. Sweet, we got it.
A winner.
Freaking out for a minute. All right. Okay, cool. So I want to show you like examples of my follow-up. So again, I pay for Mojo. It's $50 a month. I get the data and I have their platform. And then again, that dialer is $100. So $150 a month. I have the whole system right here. But what I love about Mojo is the tracking system. So I'll click calendar and I'll click today, the 30th. I have 11 follow-up calls I have to make. So I'm gonna double click this lead. So as you guys are gonna see, I contacted her in 2019, September of 2019. Michelle rented until May 2020, hated having an empty home, so rented it, bring a buyer. So you can see I left her a message a couple months later, jumped into the next year, 6 months later, we rented it again. New tenants, don't want a market analysis, left voicemail, left voicemail, left voicemail. But the good thing is, like, I can go into follow-up and I can set the date and I can set reoccurring for how many days. So depending on my conversation, I typically do 30, 45 to 60 days out, but you can see how much I followed up with her. And I talked to her last in June. Michelle said she wants $400K for the house. It's tenant occupied until May 2022. That's what she's getting. So when I call her, Michelle knows who I am. She knows I've been following up with her like crazy. But this is what I do. So I'm due for a call today with her and I'm checking. Michelle, how things going? What's going on? You still have plans for next year? Great. I'm going to follow up with you at the beginning of the year. Then I'm going to click over. This is follow-up call number 2. Again, you could see how much follow-up I do with these guys. Rob, one of them moves to Columbia Station, follow-up. But again, this is like the follow-up is going to win you guys. So this is my biggest win this year. And I remember when Danielle was getting me the sign, she's like, I just cannot believe you're doing this. When I first met this guy, so Rebecca Lane, I have this deal pending right now. I talked to him August of 2019. His name's Todd. Let me call you back. I left him a voicemail a month later, left voicemail full. I told him, look, man, everything's selling higher. And then he's like, no, he was so adamant on renting it. Great. He found renters. I gave him my photographer's number, gave him the 3D tour from our photographer. Because I thought he was going to list, but I'm like, whatever, I'll give you value, get good content for you to find renters. This is the best one. I called him February this year, and then I called him in April this year, nothing. He called me in June. I go over there, the house is worth around $400,000. Again, I didn't even interview for the job. I just showed up. And he's like, Ryan, we want to list the house. And it's just like amazing. But again, that's why the lead follow-up will build you the business, because I'm converting so many conversations I had years ago when I started in the business. So, and look at this opportunity. And it's just an amazing looking listing just because of follow-up. It's just a beautiful home, new construction. I have no headaches from it. But again, this was an opportunity I found on the dialer and I was so consistent, but that's where I'm good because it's my job to come in 2 hours of follow-up or 2 hours of lead generation and you get new leads, new contacts, 1 hour of follow-up and you're going to start getting results like this. Number 2, like, and again, I'm showing you guys my highlight reels. I get small listings, but you can also get like the opportunities here. This one is my favorite, Loxford. This one expired in 2017. And I followed up with her like crazy, but again, I made connection notes. Oh, I'm driving to Massachusetts. Bernie, I followed up. You're in Massachusetts. You told me to call you back. Got a hold of her. Never met this lady. And she's like, oh, I think I heard of you. She thought, I hate to say it, I think she thought I was Ryan Young from the Young team. Yeah, I'm Ryan from Keller Williams. Oh, I hear you on the radio. I'm like, yeah, you know, Keller Williams. So if your name's Ryan and you're lead genning, that definitely adds a lot of value. So she called me out of the blue because I constantly followed up with her. And like, yeah, she wanted to see a house and put an offer on it. Like, do you have a pre-approval letter? She said, no, I don't have a pre-approval. Well, I met her at the house anyway, face to face. She knew who I was. She knew I was calling her constantly. We ended up getting, Sean Hadley came through, you know, Sean, I got a pre-approval letter from Sean at 2 in the morning, got her offer the next day. So I got her under contract on her property. Then she's like, Ryan, you were so easy to work with. I want you to list our house. Look at, like, this wasn't expired from 2017. Looking at it now, the property is worth around $650 right now. There was a couple that just sold on the property in that area for about $630, $650. So just out of following up like this, just right there, that's over $1 million in volume from follow-up calls. So again, those are highlight reels. I got a lot of small deals, but these are just amazing opportunities because the more you follow up, you start building a relationship with these people. And again, this is the way I do business. I'm good at it. I'm comfortable with it. But if you apply the same type of follow-up with your sphere or family and friends, it's just I find a bigger opportunity here because my sphere is first-time home buyers. They're in the 100 to 200 price range, but calling expired, you could see different opportunities that come up from this as well. And then tracking deals. I'll go into a little bit about that too. I know that's important. But basically just tracking deals. I'm very simple with what's going on. I just have a simple Excel sheet. I just do the street number, the filing date, the city. Was there a point of sale? Yes or no? The title company, lender, contract date. Was the earnest money collected? I make note of the inspection date, the appraisal date, and I've been getting better. I need to put I've been getting the appraiser and the appraiser's phone number down because I've had a lot of appraisal issues this year. So it's good to get all the appraiser's contact information. This is a good place to log it. And then the escrow letter, and then just extra notes. But again, you just got to track everything. And as a solo independent agent, it's just make sure you're going through every deal every day. And that's the question I ask. If I was to call, like Eric asked me this, if he was to call my sellers right now, what would they have to say about me and my performance? And I always think about that. So I make sure I contact them a couple times a week, give them a status update, what's going on. So yeah, so again, that's, and then last but not least, for tracking your follow-up, everybody I meet in Mojo, mind you, if it's a good lead, I will flip them to command and go into opportunities and just add a profile for them. So I'll get all my leads from command, or I'll get all my leads from Mojo. If they're good and I feel like I'm going to convert them, I put them in command. And then once they're in command, then I really double down on them. So what I mean by that is, so scheduling, these are 2 prospects I got out of command. I've been following up with them like crazy. I'm about to have a listing appointment with them very soon. Once I do, I'm going to put it in the schedule. And then once I put it in the schedule, these are all the ones that I recently went on. They're just not a 10 out of 10 motivation. They're eventually going to convert. And then once I move them from here, I push them into active. Again, these are my pre-stage. I have signed listing agreements. I'm just getting photos right now. And then once they go live, we'll start showings. Then I flip them. And then these are my pending deals that are in the inspection process, one in the appraisal process. But then you're cultivate. And again, I have about 85 total in my seller pipeline right now, which is I just have so much, like all these hots can convert any minute now, but my job is to stay on top of them. So I'll either call them once a month, I will text them, I will send them a mailer, I'll send them an email. So I like to touch them, and you got to get a certain touch plan going, but that's the best way to follow and track. So
can I ask you a question? Because this is what I think I'm hearing. I just want to check and make sure I'm hearing it clearly. When you do your 2 hours of lead generation in the morning and you're doing all your calling and taking all your careful notes from the people that you're reaching or following up with, you're doing that in Mojo in a different computer database.
Yes.
Then now what you've just shown us is that once you've really followed up with that preliminary lead and you've really cultivated it to where it is, then you move it into your command database. So you're using Mojo as like a primary filter so that the things that you get into command base, you have a higher expectation that this is going to lead to business.
100%. You completely understand. And I didn't want to confuse you guys. That's exactly what I do. It's easy because you're contacting so many leads in command. I'm so sorry. You're contacting so many leads
In
in
your lead generation.
Mojo with my lead gen. And it's just so many contacts going on in here, like every day. But once I feel like Michelle, she's gonna be motivated. Like, you know, she wants a list by May 2022. I know it, I have to stay on top of it. I'm gonna keep following up, but if I feel like I'm on the urge of converting her, I'm gonna put her in command, which I think she's a good contestant for command right now. And like, so that's what works for me because it's just so much going on in Mojo. But it's so organized and it's right there, and I have so many notes and I can see them every day. So every time I come in, I know who I'm gonna call and when, and it couldn't be any more easy. And that's just how it works with the expires. And there's so many. You can go back to the old expires, you can get old data or new data. But like I said, new data, there's not much this year. It's been very low with the inventory with expires. But again, some of the opportunities that I showed actually worked. But yeah, so that's all I got for you guys. I know it was a lot of question.
Was your Excel spreadsheet modeled after anybody's, or did you come up with that yourself?
I will give Taylor Wilson the credit. She is Eric Akbar's administrative assistant, transaction coordinator. She developed this, and yeah, she keeps adding more as you go. And like, I might add one for the home warranties. I've been getting a ton that just want home warranties, so I need to make sure I get the data collection because you do get paid for those too. But the Magic 6 class Eric talks about, as soon as you go under contract. Oh, what did you need? Oh, scoop over. So just my advice for you guys and for newer agents that are listening, I would just say, don't overthink prospecting. I see a lot of agents just overthinking it and making it so complicated that they do not take any action. It prevents them from taking any sort of action. Just start doing something. Doing something is better than nothing. And eventually you're going to stumble upon what works. And, you know, you just got to start somewhere. And again, the consistency, again, you got to do it every day consistently. You're going to start seeing results, and it takes time. 2, I would also recommend self-development and working on yourself. Constantly just fill your mind to work on your mindset. I'm constantly listening to different programs. Jeff Glover has so much amazing content for developing you on the real estate side. Love to listen to Jim Rohn, Ed Milet. There's a lot of different mentors out there that you can throw on at any time when you're multitasking, and it just helps you so much. And then every single training here, just double down on your training. When I was a newer agent, Eric Akbar offers the free productivity coaching your first year, and he offers 2 classes on Wednesday. It's at 11 and 5:30. When I was newer, I doubled down on both. All that repetition, drilled the listing agreement in my head, the listing presentation, my buyer presentation, negotiations, asking powerful questions. And the more you do something, the better you're going to get. So the productivity coaching is amazing. Take advantage of that. The bold, I did bold that Keller Williams offered my 2nd month in the business, and just completely transforms your mindset, and it puts you into full production mode. And not to mention all the content and scripts and role-playing content that you could get from that. Family reunion. I mean, I'm not going to go into all of this stuff, but everything that Keller Williams offers, just jump on all the training opportunities, jump in with Eric, go in KW agents, just be very resourceful, and you know, you could be a professional just by going in there, type in contractors, plumbers, whatever you need, you could find it in the search bar. Just be resourceful. Your client needs somebody, you can go in there. Everybody's asking very similar questions, and there's so much value to be had in there. So utilize that. And then at the end of the day, just follow the belief system and do a good job, because that's, you know, honesty, integrity is just gonna win you deals and have a good business.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.